Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Star Power. We are here to start our season 2 of Saturday Night Star Power, and we are so excited to be back. I've been looking forward to this for months now. We're going to be doing kind of a session 0 here today. We're talking about we're going to be making our Fate characters because we're transitioning over from Overarms, game by Rookie Jet Studios, which we just played for like 20 something sessions. So go back and check that out. And we're transitioning over to Fate. We'll talk more about that in a second, but first we have lots of announcements and things going on the channel for you to get involved with and enjoy. Our next stream after this one will be tomorrow. That will be at 4 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be back with Thursday's Children. We're playing a game called Vesen, which is a Scandinavian horror investigative game that Savannah runs. I'll let her talk more about that if she wants to, but yeah, well, come join us for that. Otherwise, our schedule this week should be normal. If you scroll down below our faces, if you're watching us live on Twitch, you can see our full lineup of shows. Our biggest change to our schedule is that Elegant Magics is going weekly now, so if you missed our session last or 2 nights ago, you can catch us again this next week. We're all very excited to get to play that game more often because it's always a ton of fun. And Sid runs that one, as you can tell by her dancing. Otherwise, I think everything on our channel schedule is going to be normal. I don't think there's any other changes that I'm aware of. I guess I'll plug the other session 0 that I'm doing 1 week from today for Saturday night's Mistborn, our new game that will be taking the place of Saturday Night's Apocalypse. Where we're going to be playing the Mistborn RPG based on the novels by Brandon Sanderson. If you are a little bit of promotion there as well. If you're not familiar with the series, a bunch of us on the channel love the novels of Brandon Sanderson and read a ton of them, and so this is going to be sort of a dream come true for some of us, and this should be a lot of fun. So come check that out. Same time, same place, just next week. I'm gonna shut up for a little bit and let my players introduce themselves, talk about anything they've got going on in their lives, and then they can also introduce the characters because we're still playing the same characters in this game. None of that's changing. We're just kind of revamping some of the details. So I will start it off with Savannah.
Hello, that's me. I'm Savvy. I'm at Savvy Seaworth on the internets, mostly on Twitter, where you can find my streaming schedule pinned to the top of my page. I am also here Thursdays through Sundays, either playing in games or running them. Particularly Thursday's Children, the Vaesen game that I run. It is a Scandinavian horror role-playing game. It is a lot of monster hunting like we did in Slaying 101, but Scandinavian and based on all of that lore and tales and things like that. And it's pretty awesome. I think you should come hang out. This is 4 o'clock tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, I am on twitch.tv/lbhackemup at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time playing Dungeons and Dragons. But in Saturday night's Star Power, which we're doing session 0 for today, I play Piper, who in the first season was a pop star. I don't know if that's going to change or not. I'm still thinking about it. But she was a aspiring pop star, and her anima is Vega, who is a big transformer-looking speaker man. That's me.
Hey everybody, I'm RJ. You can catch me at RJustice282 on Twitter and Twitch, where I tweet about the nerdy things in my life and sometimes stream. Currently, it's Resident Evil 4, and I'm in the castle with like 1 HP. It's great. You can catch me on Mondays over at the Indoor Adventures channel, where we play a homebrew campaign. I play a Shatterkai wizard. We're dealing with the consequences of his actions. It seems to be a recurring theme with me in all of my games. Thursdays, Elegant Magics. I play Jarvis Hawk. We're also dealing with the consequences of his actions. You can also catch me on Mistborn, where we'll talk about that later during the actual game. It's going to be fun. And finally, catch me over at the Hype Goblins channel in the AM, where I play a Azamar Cleric Sorcerer, who we don't actually deal with his consequences. He's pretty chill. We're going to go rob a bank. Or no, casino. Yeah. But today, I'm Feng. His anima is the Black Tortoise, and he was the vigilante of the group who took everyone in to form his own vigilante squad. Ended up being weird. That's me.
I love it. Hey, I'm Christina Sid. You can find me on the Twitters at Greek Sid, usually talking shit, and in a good way, in the best way, not about people, like just about stuff. I don't want to put that out there in the world. But also talking about this, because I'm on this lovely, lovely channel with these lovely, lovely people, usually Thursdays through Sundays, sometimes on again, off again. But like Val said, Thursdays no longer on again, off again. It's every week. I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. And yeah, come see us again this Thursday for more, well, for the beach episode. Very excited. Beach episode, finally. Hot Springs, yes. Well, you know what? I'll let Wings talk about the one-shot thingy that I'm doing tomorrow, because she's running that. It's gonna be great. But today, I'm gonna be playing Penny. Penny had a lovely anima named Omega, who could control time? Question mark? Also had like another entity apparently living in her brain named Miss Persimmon, who could control space. We'll see how all that develops. Should be fun.
Oh, and that's me. I'm the last one. Hi, everybody. I'm Wings, also known as Danae Keener. You can find me at DanaeKeener.com. I do nerdy drawings mostly related to D&D and a lot of things on the Indoor Adventurer stream. And speaking of the Indoor Adventurer stream, that's where I'm going to be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock CST. And I'm running Rime of the Frost Maiden. And tomorrow's going to be special because it's basically going to be all but like a one-shot with a bunch of the guest characters that we've been having on who visit our main group throughout their adventure. This will be the first time that most of the guest characters are meeting each other, and these are some crazy guest characters. Sid's playing a hobgoblin based off of Frosty the Snowman. RJ is playing as a human who was raised by Yetis. His name is Box of Rocks, and he has the personality of Jason Mendoza from The Good Place. It is a grand old time, and I invite you all to come and check that out. It'll be fun. I'm playing as Vivi. Her thing was bees, and she was a big workaholic, and she was also from the past. She was a hot mess. I've got some interesting ideas for her going forward. DanaeKeener.com.
And running this game, once again, I am Val at the Kraken's Crown on Twitter and Twitch. Like Savannah, you can find me here Thursdays through Sundays, either playing games or running them. Last night we would have had Neon Souls. We've been off that game for like a month and I feel terrible about it, but we keep just having things come up and it's been bad. But hopefully we'll be back next Friday. If you missed our session last night, Savannah ran us through a wonderful one-shot of God, what's the name of the game again?
Beautiful Space Pirates in the Galaxy's Most Dangerous Funeral.
Yeah, where she just ran Sid and I through a one-shot, and it was hilarious, and you should definitely check that out once it's up on YouTube, or watch our VODs on Twitch if you're a subscriber. It's so good. It was great. And once again, Savannah really shines in these crazy Grant Howard one-shots. But yeah, tonight I'll be running the game, and speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into it, because we got a lot to cover and not much time to do it in. So first off, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to put us on a little more chill music and
very dramatic.
Just put it on repeat. Okay. So once again, my brain is all over the place. We are transitioning from Overarms to Fate for this season. I want to talk a little bit why, because I loved Overarms and I hope you all did too. I think it was a great system. The reason why we're making the shift is because while we all really liked the simple mechanics of Overarms, it doesn't really hold up for like a long-term campaign. You just kind of hit a wall at a certain point, which is great. I recommend picking up the book and playing it at home if you have like a group of friends that you want to play with, or like a really like short-term game, because it's really easy to jump into. It's a lot of fun. It's punchy. There's good action balance to it. But we kind of wanted something that tied a little more into our characters and kind of was some more deep role play, and really getting to explore that, because this is a very talented group of role players, and I think I want to give them the mechanics to do that with. So that's why we're switching over to Fate. If you've never played Fate or watched a stream of Fate before, I'll go ahead and say I've never played or run Fate, so this is going to be a learning experience for me as well. It's a little bit different than a lot of other RPGs on the market, namely because you don't use dice, or you have a specific set of dice that you use in this game. That's the number one thing that is kind of very different. The game uses something called fate dice, which you'll roll 4 of whenever you're trying to accomplish any sort of task. Those dice have positive and negative, or plus and minus symbols on it, and you will kind of add and subtract those. We have a roll thing that's going to do it for us, and you get a number there. You add modifiers to it or whatnot, or however you want to like kind of articulate that, and you compare it against a kind of a success ladder. It's called the Ladder of Fate in this game, and you just have to beat a certain target number. It's kind of similar to Cypher, if you've watched us play any of that, in kind of having that ladder, that scale of success. But the thing about Fate that's a lot different is that these characters our players here today are going to be building their characters or defining their characters narratively with things called aspects, which they will use to kind of articulate different aspects of their personalities, their history, their relationships with each other, and they will draw on those to kind of modify their successes and failures. So rather than having a lot of modifiers and saying I've got a +2 bonus in this skill and a +1 bonus in another skill, one of the kind of the central mechanic of this game is that if you have a connection with something or a history with something, it's going to allow you to potentially succeed at it by spending fate points and invoking an aspect. It also gives me an ability as the GM of this game to like compel negative sort of results of that aspect and use it against players to give them complications and juicy narrative struggles to deal with. So it's very much, all these characters are going to be really well defined by kind of how we know them already and how they choose to be redefined by the players coming into the season 2. You'll see kind of more what we talk about in a second. But where I kind of want to start today is talking more broad scale. We're not going to get into character creation just yet, even though I'm sure everyone is itching to do that. But we will do that very soon, because one of the things that is probably most on everyone's minds is what the fuck is going on after the finale of season 1. Where we left off at the end of season 1 is your group had thwarted the machinations of this group called the System and David Constantine, and the kind of behind the scenes shadowy figures of the Black Zodiac, by traveling back in time, defeating the Zodiac before they can be to be imprisoned within the Mirage, leading to its eventual collapse. And to prevent all of that, you travel back in time, defeated them, and those sort of ripples of change are going to have distorted and kind of created a butterfly effect that are going to change a lot of things in how this game is now set up in this new season. There's a lot here that we can talk about and things that I really want to do collaboratively with you, because anything could have changed. Everything could have changed. This world could be totally different than the one that we left. It could be very similar with a couple of small changes. And we've kind of talked about that a little bit as a group. I know a couple of you have ideas, and I really want to leave it kind of open and collaborative for y'all to kind of add your own ideas to. Kind of the big questions that we're dealing with is, where are we located? Are we still in Miami, or are we in a different city? what year is it? Because your characters could all be the same age, and actually there are a couple of rules that I gave the group of like things that they can and can't change. The one thing that they can't change is their characters and their anima's appearance, because that's in the art, and didn't want to have to get new art because we all love this art so much. What we could be in a later year, we could be in the modern day, and I was kind of actually going to kind of advocate for doing a more modern set game in like the recent day, but have your characters be the same age or kind of around the same age, so that your art makes sense, which based on anime and how that works, I think all of your characters could be anywhere from 30 to 15, based on how shonen anime is drawn. So we can argue either way. I think there were a couple of ideas that we had thrown around at the end of our last session that we could kind of explore here. There was some talk of y'all being a touring pop band. There was some talk about y'all being high schoolers and turning this straight up into a shonen jump anime. So that's another thing. So location, year, who remembers the prior timeline is also kind of a big deal. It's like, are we going to have any carryover? Do we want to have that like where y'all have been like are kind of being thrown back in and still remember everything that happened, but having to wrap your head around an entire life that you now have to kind of piece together that has been lived differently up until this point as the flashpoint converges here, and then just generally like any other things that have changed, NPCs that are still around, stuff like that. We can start either by kind of working through the way that Fate talks about like creating a setting and doing that, or we can just kind of jump in. Y'all can give me your suggestions and we can kind of brainstorm together a little bit based on what everybody's thinking. Anybody have any ideas just like right off the bat?
Honestly, I like the idea of not remembering the past timeline, but maybe having someone like Penny or Vivi, who have been exposed to that sort of shift, kind of have fragments of it.
I think Vivi should at least remember part of it because bees.
Piggybacking off of that idea, I kind of like the idea of the overarching story of this season being that this isn't the first time this happened. And that there have been several times when we have gone back and like reset, and like the end of it being like, what do we do? Do we reset again, or do we try and move forward?
Okay, so that gets into two questions that we can also talk about that we're going to be talking about here in a bit as we set up our game, and that's talking about the game scale and the setting's big issues. So the game scale is kind of more of a question of like how y'all want to deal with this. Last season was very like big scale. I mean, there was a lot of personal stuff that went into it. Kind of it started out personal and then it kind of gradually went into like cataclysmic world-ending affairs. We can keep that as kind of our theme and kind of our progression for this game if y'all want it to be some big like time distortion like as one of our threats, and that would be kind of a larger, less like personal scale, have to be sort of vast and grand and all that. So that would be an option. The other thing that's kind of more important is the settings big issues. We're going to define two issues, which I want to do as a current issue, something that is already a problem or threat that exists in the world already, and I kind of have an idea for that. And then the impending issues, which time fuckery and distortions and the ramifications of this ripple effect and the timeline trying to right itself or repair itself or heal itself, however you want to frame it, would be a good impending issue to have as our campaign too. I'll talk about briefly what I wanted our current issue to be, and y'all can tell me if you had anything different in mind, because I really wanted to kind of shift this into less of the... You guys are still gonna have anima and that sort of thing, but kind of taking less inspiration from the JoJo universe where y'all are fighting people with similar powers to you, and kind of have an idea of this being more of a paranormal investigation anime, similar to like Yu Yu Hakusho or Jujutsu Kaisen or
like Persona,
Bleach.
basically.
Yeah. So being more driven by the entities from the Mirage crossing over into the real world and wreaking havoc in the real world, and y'all trying to investigate what's going on, stop it from happening, protect the people who cannot see or interact with these creatures but can be killed by them or influenced by them. And I kind of like that for our current issue. Does anyone have any, like, is really against that or likes that idea?
I'm not
That
against
sounds
it.
like tons of fun.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It answers my other question was, are we going to change the status quo? Is this going to be a world where anima are normal, or are we going to keep anima sort of a secret from the general populace?
I was thinking more of a secret from the general populace still. But it's up to y'all.
I really love the idea of investigating anima and then like in Jujutsu Kaisen going into like their domain expansions to fight them. Basically.
Oh, that's kind of fun. I like
Yeah.
that.
I like that too. I like the idea of y'all being special and this being, again, y'all being super powered and having these abilities and having to hide them and deal with balancing real life to that, to you know, but with your abilities and powers and trying to keep those secret. I think that leads to a lot of interesting dynamics that we necessarily didn't get to explore too much in the first one, that could come up more in this season. So okay, yeah, I like where we're going with that. So that kind of brings us back to what we need to figure out is setting and time. So do y'all have any concerns about this being a modern day game where this is taking place around 2021?
That's cool by me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do it.
fine.
Does everyone want to keep the game in Miami? Or do we have another city we're interested in trying to do this in? Another location? I'd like to keep it within the U.S., but I'm okay with any suggestions that people have.
I like Miami.
I like Miami, yeah.
I'm on the
Yeah.
side of changing the city, but I don't have any suggestions at all.
No,
I'm
I
also
know
on
that's
the side
helpful.
of changing the city.
Okay.
Somewhere still warm. At least let me pretend that I live somewhere warm. I would appreciate it.
What if we did like, I'm trying to think of like recognizable cities, but cities that don't get a lot of
Las Vegas.
screen time. I was gonna say
Oh,
Phoenix,
Oh,
but
Phoenix
Vegas
will-
is
yeah.
really
Phoenix.
good.
Vegas could make a lot of sense. A
It
lot of
could.
sense.
Stars and wishes if we're not getting into it too early. A fucking battle in Death Valley.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, see,
Could be really cool.
Vegas and Phoenix are interesting in the sense that there is it's a very strong concentration of population, but you don't have to go far to get to the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. I kind of like that idea.
Okay. I'm good with Las Vegas. I think
Let's
that
do
sounds really
Vegas.
fun.
Let's do Vegas.
Well, that also ties in more with what, yeah, I think there'd been a wish to get into some more of like the musical elements, especially bring in like some of like Piper's storyline and wanting to be a star and stuff, which we didn't really get much into in the last game. You know, that gives us more, I think, more ability to kind of bring some of that in if Piper is performing in Vegas. So yeah, that could be. I think that sounds fun. Okay, so setting 2021, Las Vegas. Did anyone have any ideas for like? Do we want to just keep this like close to the like how things are in our modern day, with the addition of like anima and powers and things like that? Are there any like big changes that people want to see, like just that would have happened due to the time fuckery?
So there is an antique shop called the North Star in Vegas, but it's run by Feng's grandma, and they have a cat named Grandpa.
Oh, I love it.
That's great.
Okay.
Now, here's the question: is the cat just a cat, or is the cat actually Grandpa?
We'll talk about it.
Oh,
I'm definitely noting that down because there is a part we're going to talk about like locations and kind of tying things in with that too. So I'm going to mark that down for our as part of our setting stuff because I love that.
I think that we need to make a list of like loose ends or unexplored options from the first season that we can totally explore in this one.
Okay.
One of them. Well, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
There's some things that I want to leave a mystery, but it's hard. It's hard to be it's hard to like brainstorm when it's all like, but I wanted secrets.
That's fine. Well, the two ones that kind of came to mind were Miss Persimmon was kind of a loose end of the first one. Piper's music career was another one that we didn't really get into, but I need to leave that up to Savannah whether or not Piper's still going to be a celebrity and a star if we're sticking with that. Do y'all want to go with being around, like, as far as like your group dynamic and stuff, did y'all want to go with something where you are all like, where we kind of move into like the music industry and everyone has some sort of hand in that, or keep it more like a group of kind of strangers brought together through a common ability and purpose?
It's a good question. I feel like we could start off as strangers brought together by a common purpose and then move into the music industry if we want to. But like
almost like a cover. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna be hanging out together a lot now. I don't know. Someone want to give me a job? Yeah, that sort of
Okay.
thing.
I know it's an idea that we entertained. Entertainment industry. But like I feel like we're still leaving things fairly open as far as that goes. We haven't locked in on that idea.
Okay. And we can get more into the character creation stuff, and y'all can, when we do our phase trio, like I think that will, you know, maybe give some more options, and we can develop that as we go too. Okay, so
I think I like
okay.
it as a facet of the story, but I wouldn't necessarily want it to be the linchpin.
Okay. This is, if we were billing this as a TV show, we would not be saying that, like, this is a TV show about a touring group of musicians who, you know, all who are fighting crime and monsters along the way. This is more of something that we might get into later in the season as some sort of cover.
Right. It would be an arc, not a pitch.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to mark down. So I'm going back to the rule book here and to look at this. So we talked about the game scale. We kind of have an idea and kind of a grasp of that based on what we're thinking for the big issues. So I'm going to go ahead and mark down our big issues as they were kind of recommended. And if somebody else wants to throw one out for us to consider, we can do that. I like our current issue of paranormal investigation of the entities crossing over from the Mirage. The one thing I want to, this is sort of a side tangent, but I do want to talk about, so since we're moving away from some overarms, one of the things I had the most trouble with overarms was y'all's abilities are called anima. The creatures that live in the Mirage are animus, with a US at the end, which got fucking difficult to distinguish between when we're talking about a spoken media. So I wanted to come up with a different thing to call these creatures, these entities that are coming over from the Mirage. I had a list of things because I was kind of thinking more of the realm of like spirits, some like spirits, specters, phantoms, apparitions, demons, ghouls, ghasts, things like that. Does somebody have one that like really speaks to them? I'm also trying not to draw from like something that has already been used in another show or something, but that's going to be nearly impossible to do, I think.
I was gonna say phantoms.
I was also going to
Phantoms.
say phantoms, actually.
Oh, that's really cool. It's cool from like a paranormal investigation sense too.
Yeah. I like that because I don't think that's a word that's used that often for this sort of thing. So I think y'all referring to them as phantoms, I think it's also going to lead to less confusion when we're talking about the difference between the creatures you are fighting and the things that you are using to fight them with, because that's what got really difficult. So instead of calling them animus and these entities from the Mirage, we're going to call them phantoms instead.
Animesis?
I've got
Animesis.
I've got a world building question that's going to go on a small tangent.
Okay.
So, like in D&D 4th edition, like all of the monsters were categorized into like separate, like little mini categories to kind of tell you what you were going to get out of that monster. Like for instance, like a big brutish monster would be called a brute, and then like the little small ones that you're supposed to send like in numerous numbers that go down in one hit were called minions. And then you had other things like controllers, skirmishers, etc. I kind of like the idea of having various categories of quote-unquote monster that like we could categorize these. We could categorize the phantoms as, and like I think specifically this would be something that Feng would have knowledge of more than anything else. Did Overarms have a system like that where they categorized their monsters?
Outside of the categorization of the anima users and kind of guardian, assassin, things like that, no, there was no categorization for the animus. It was just they had a name. And
kind of do that though, the way they categorize like what the monsters do.
Do you all have recommendations for how we want to do it? Because the thing I was saying is like we can either use classification system based on what they can do, or classification system based on how powerful they are. Jujutsu Kaisen kind of does this with the categorization of like tier 1 through tier 5 or something.
Did we like Capcom it where it's like grade F for the weakest and grade triple S for the strongest?
Yeah.
I mean, like my number crunching ass wants to do both. I want to have like a strength category and also like a type category as well. But then again, that's just Pokemon, so
that is Pokemon. Yeah, so I was gonna say I do like the way that Monster of the Week does it a lot, because if we're gonna do something like that, I'm tempted to go more that way just because of the way that my brain works than just saying like, oh, this is a tier 5, this is a tier 4, because like they make more sense to me. So like the way Monster of the Week does it is that there's 12 monster types and they're all descriptors. So they have like queens and devourers and destroyers and executioners and parasites and things like that.
I like that.
I have the list somewhere. Tricksters,
yeah, if you can send me that
stuff.
If you can send that list to the group, I like using that. I like using both. So
it.
It'll probably more like the actual like like those words that you use to describe them will probably be more more beneficial to y'all's characters during like the investigation part. But I do like the idea of also using like the S tier through D tier or something for this,
just
where
the descriptor of an S tier queen.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Yeah,
I think if we're gonna do it, I think we have to really do it and do both.
I like this. No, I like this a lot, because that'll be part of your investigation, is determining like how, like it might be something where we're gonna have to talk a little bit about are we gonna have another like, is grandma gonna be the kind of mentor figure that is giving you your missions and stuff, or is there something else giving you your assignments and all that for these? Because we're gonna go into more of like my thought is for the day-to-day stuff, it's gonna be more of like going into the investigation aspect of this, where y'all are gonna be given an assignment, you have to track down, find, and then destroy these creatures.
And Phasmophobia with superpowers.
yeah, basically. So if you could send that list somewhere.
I posted it, I found it. It's beasts, breeders, collectors, destroyers, devourers, executioners, parasites, queens, sorcerers, tempters, torturers, and tricksters.
I can think of bugs. Like all of these are just bugs.
Kind of.
As soon as everyone had the same reaction when you said breeders.
Breeder.
Which is exactly the reaction that I want when I introduce a breeder phantom into this.
It's not that kind of breeder.
No, it's just more like trying to spawn more of themselves.
To breed,
sort of thing.
To breed or bring forth evil, is what it is in Monster of the Week.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily creating more of themselves, but just creating more like destruction.
To create something. They're creating something.
More environment for like chaos and stuff.
They're also like summoners and stuff, like bringing things through.
Yeah, portals.
Which, being Las Vegas.
Portals.
Chaos. That just sounds like RJ. Like, that's just...
RJ is a chaos breeder.
Yes.
No, I like that. So we'll use these terms. Y'all can save those for your own like purposes and stuff. I'll probably also create some handouts and things when we actually get into our session 1. But yeah, so we can. I like this idea of having more of a classification system for our monsters. As like I said, I'm going to be mostly inventing these, so these come up with like. This gives me a lot of ammunition to work with too.
Yeah, by creating structure for this kind of stuff, it will help with the brainstorming part of making a session. Yeah. Because I feel like this is putting work on you specifically as the game master. So like any tools that we can give you is going to be the really Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to talk about too, just as again we're kind of on a tangent, we'll get back into it. Is so the way that the game that Fate works is that y'all roll. If you guys are trying to accomplish a task, like an unopposed task, where it's just that there's a difficulty to it, you'll roll and then compare it against a number. The game gives you the option for game masters as to whether or not you are going to create static numbers for your monsters, or if you are going to roll in opposition to the players. So I could roll dice and then roll dice against you, and we see who rolls higher. I'm probably just going to create static numbers for most monsters, where it's the same thing as overarms, or well, not overarms because that one had you rolling adversely, but like Cypher, where I don't have to roll dice. I hate rolling dice. So
I can't recommend that enough. As someone who ran Fate as a one shot, like having to roll and then having the defender also having to roll really bogs down the game.
Yeah, so it's probably something where when I create my monsters, they're going to have some static numbers based on what they're trying to do. Y'all just have to roll higher than that to succeed against them.
All right.
So I
do it powered by the apocalypse style.
Yeah, the less dice I have to roll, the better. So that's probably how we're going to be running this game. Unless for some reason I get into it, I'm like, I really want to roll some dice today, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so we have our. So that's kind of talking about our current conflict, and let's see. So current issue: paranormal investigation of phantoms. I get out my sheet here. I'm supposed to create aspects tied to these as well. And then our pending issue is going to be, do you want to say like time disruption? Like restoring the timeline, that sort of thing?
We can also just...
This is like...
Sorry.
You were thinking like the timeline trying to write itself?
Like this, there's been so, like, yeah, y'all have fucked with time a lot in this game, and then now you have fucked with it the most possible, pretty much, and this is going to be like, there's damage to the time stream and time trying to correct itself, and so we may end up with some overlap and things of, people getting visions of the past or things that existed coming in, and, everything trying to right itself, so
like distortions and stuff.
Yeah, like time distortion, time fractures, things like that.
Okay.
Potential for Nom Grandpa to come out.
Yeah. So we're just going to go with these two as our default. And then these are also aspects that we can pull from that y'all, can like make with your characters to bring into the to your character creation too. I'll probably work on those a little bit later on my own, like how I'm going to define the aspects. But these are things that you can pull from, these ideas, these concepts of what the issues are when you guys are creating your aspects for your characters in a bit. Let's see. Faces and places is the next part. So we need to talk about NPCs that are existing and locations that are important to you. We had brought up the North Star and Grandma and Grandpa. RJ, are you thinking that Feng's kind of setup here is mostly the same? Obviously, like, the legend of like Black Tortoise and stuff, and trying to protect the pyramid and all this sort of thing, that has changed, but doesn't necessarily have to be too much different than what it was before. Are you still thinking that your family are like vigilantes that have been trying to fight this stuff, or are you thinking about going different with that?
It would make sense if Feng's family converted from being the guardians of the pyramid to protectors who fight the phantoms. Las Vegas itself is like one of the hot spots.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought. So, since we've done a lot of time fuckery anyway, and we revealed spoilers for season 1, that Penny's lineage was the Iza, like another one of the families. Is she aware of that now, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, we could do that, because they wouldn't have been killed, as part of all the Constantine getting his revenge and stuff like that, killing off the other family.
This could be a joint operation between the two families.
That being said, we could flip-flop some roles here and make it so that Penny is the one with the actual, like,
database and stuff.
Yeah, and then, like, Feng is kind of slowly relearning his heritage.
He's the newer one in.
Yeah, maybe like Grandma didn't actually train you or teach you, like your line kind of didn't necessarily keep up with their training in this militant.
Or they've been actively trying to get away from it.
Yeah,
it's all like,
maybe your
Feng,
grandma
we didn't
was
want
like,
to tell you.
Yeah. Like, she was like, enough is enough, I don't want to do any of this, and tried to not tell you, and then eventually your powers awakened, and...
My husband got turned into a cat, I'm done with this shit.
I'm done with it.
So, that also was something I wanted to, like, mull around for a bit. In the last episode, spoilers, of Season 1, Fang exhibited, for story reasons, different powers from his original concept. I wanted to rename Black Tortoise to the Four Emperors.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh.
Because in Chinese mythology, the constellations are the Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, White Tiger, and Azure Dragon, which were the 4 moves he used during the final fight.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. I mean because that's a choice for your character. You're totally welcome to rename. You're asking to rename your anima, and that's not going to change the art. So I'm happy with that.
This opens so many doors.
So part of this is like locations. So what we're defining here is more like locations and organizations. Mm-hmm. So we have the North Star with Grandma, and this kind of like dwindling of kind of the Hang line, or no, wait, what's the last name again?
The Hang line, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Isa family having flourished and taken on more responsibility, Penny being trained as part of this family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe we could have a spot then too. We need some reason to be taking on all of this info in a database and stuff like that. So maybe I'm thinking we're in modern day now, right?
Yeah.
Bar named the Centurion.
God damn it, no. We can't have that many crossovers of games, okay?
Yes, we can.
I'm thinking like what would be different, and like
something modern, like, I mean, maybe like, because Penny was super into like the
like a
dark
tech
web.
company or something.
Yeah, like a tech company of some kind. Like,
okay,
they control all of the servers on the western seaboard. I don't know.
So we'll need a name for the tech company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Wormhole.
Wormhole. Okay. Any weird spelling here, or just WRMHOLE?
Why instead of an O, just because it's fun.
Okay. So own step company Wormhole enemy is so as a front for their operations. So where Feng's family focused on fighting anima users and subduing them, your family is hunting phantoms, and that's what I'm thinking is like that's their bread and butter here. Okay. The other organization that we haven't talked about that I want to still have exist here would be AIM.
Should we change it because America, like AOL Instant Messenger, might get a little confusing.
Nobody
Well-
uses AIM anymore.
Well, the idea of AIM existing, now they're kind of less of a boon to us and more of a. I feel like they're a competitor.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
just at
they're
least-
still.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Go ahead.
Well, because they would still be investigating anima users and stuff, and with there being less competition between anima users fighting each other, and this be mostly focused on fighting the phantoms that are wreaking havoc, y'all are having to avoid AIM while dealing with
The
phantoms. Yeah.
I think maybe AIM has the impression that the anima users are what is causing the phantoms, and that's why they're
Yep.
hunting the anima users.
Yep.
Do we still want to go with this being a government agency?
Oh, that makes total sense. Just
Yeah.
getting in the way of everything, bureaucracy. Heck yes.
Okay.
But do we want to change the name? Because if so, put me on it, and I'll start brainstorming.
If somebody wants to throw some other ideas out, if somebody comes up with a better name,
Do
then
it,
they're welcome to
Wings.
go with it.
Do it.
It's not like this was the favorite thing that I came up with in this game. And
Well, we'll never come up with anything better than Gun in the Sonic the Hedgehog series.
Well, Gatling gun was really good.
But
It was in our Prince of the Apocalypse game.
oh,
We had to shoot
Oh.
slime at something, and we called it a
the
Gatling gun.
cackling gun. Jeez, I forgot about that.
oof.
Any other organizations that y'all have want to exist? Savannah, do you have any idea?
Family. Sorry.
Do you want we want the Constantine family to still be active?
We didn't assassinate his brother, so
Yeah, so maybe he's still in with it.
What would their do you want to? Because Constantine was a
Oh,
multi-millionaire
he's a
philanthropist.
casino baron. Like he owns like 50 casinos in the area.
Either that or we can put him in politics.
Oh no.
Could put him in
Senator
politics.
Constantine of
Senator
Nevada.
Oh god, no. That's really good actually.
I do like that idea. I think I like that better than the casino route.
Oh.
I think that there should be a casino baron. It doesn't necessarily have to be Constantine. In fact, the casino baron could be that other person that we didn't deal with. What was her name?
Yeah.
Sandra. Sasha.
Stephanie?
Stephanie. there we go.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Oh
There was
god.
an S.
Okay, I'm adding because Stephanie is a casino baron. Which I don't know if that's the term that we would use,
I've
but
made it up. It's fine.
that's what we're doing right now.
But I like it. I think we should
Okay.
keep it.
I'm probably we'll bring
Casino
up
Sar.
Casinos are.
we are probably gonna I'm gonna bring in other past NPCs and different roles and having different positions here because I like that. But not all of them need to be identified as organizations and locations that are going to affect the game. I think Stephanie definitely because having power in the casinos, being an anima user, stuff like that could be really interesting based on her power set. Assuming I decide to keep that the same, and then the Constantine family being politically motivated, that gives us a lot to work with. Did you have anything in mind for Piper, Savannah?
I think she's because I do want to keep her in the music industry, but I think she's got to be. I want her to be part of a record label or something.
Okay. Do you have an idea for this record label?
No,
Okay.
that's as far as I got.
I'm just going to mark down Piper's record label.
But I think she's
Okay.
probably got a record deal.
All right. I'd like to flesh that out more when that
or at
comes
least
to
as
mind,
part of like
'cause-
an agency.
Yeah. I like the record label idea.
Is she part of, or does she like run one?
I don't think she runs it. I think she's still a musician.
Okay.
I think it gives more conflict if there is a record label that she is like beholden to.
Yeah. I just don't have like a name for it yet, but
Oh my god. Morgan in the chat threw out.
Pied Piper. Oh no.
that's really funny.
That is funny.
I'm gonna write it down.
Okay. You tell me if that's what you want to go with.
I'll think about it.
All right. So those are a few organizations for us to work with, give some initial things to do, and come up with aspects for eventually. All right. Let's go ahead and get into character creation.
Oof.
Because yeah, we'll flesh these out later. But I think this gives something for everyone to work with. Well, I guess Wings, did you have any ideas for Vivi specifically? We haven't talked about much what her changes are.
It'll come up during character creation. Don't
Okay.
worry.
We can add more as we need to. This is a growing list. All right, so let's do this. A couple things we need to do before we get into the phase trio. And what we're going to need to come up with your character name, which everyone has one. And so what we're going to do first is come up with your character's high concept. I'm going to go and read from the book here so everybody knows what we're talking about. Your high concept is a phrase that sums up what your character is about, who he is, what he does. It's an aspect, it is an aspect, and it's one of the first and most important ones for your character. They give some examples here. It's like you could take the idea of liking your job. Literally, these are obviously like agnostic to like what the setting is, and it's such as lead detective, knight of the round, low-level thug. You can throw in an adjective or other descriptor to further define the idea, like despicable regent of Riverton, reluctant lead detective, ambitious low-level thug. You could mash two jobs or roles together that most people would find odd. Wizard private eye, singing knight of the round table, monster slang accountant. You could also play off like relationships with your family, kind of talking about like these definitions, like those of you that belong to important like monster hunting family or anima using families and stuff. You can bring in your anima stuff here. I also want to talk about very briefly of how I envision using anima with this setting and how that's going to mesh with the mechanics. Because obviously fate does not fate core does not account for people having JoJo powers. I had considered whether we were going to add like a special skill that y'all could pick, but the more I thought about that, the more I realized most of what y'all do with your anima is just like modifying other skills that you're going to be able to use. So probably where anima are mostly going to come in is when we get to stunts. I'm thinking we'll define custom stunts, or let y'all define custom stunts for your anima's usage, and we can kind of fine tune those. The rest of this, we're just going to build our characters as you would in the game, and or as you would in just like Fate Core vanilla, because most of what y'all do with anima is just like supplementing your own abilities and powers and things like that. So I'm not going to create much custom here. So in writing your high concept, you don't necessarily need to reference what your anima does. This is just whatever is most central, most core to your character, who they are, what they do. This is how you would define your character if you were telling somebody who didn't watch the show or play this game who they are. Does anyone have an idea for a high concept?
I know exactly what I'm going for.
Go for it.
Help me. Give me examples, because
Okay.
I'm stuck.
In the past game, Vivi was always chasing that dollar. She was a hustler. She was always having new jobs and stuff like that. And then towards the end, she started leaning towards a more criminal bend to that. What is more anime than befriending your enemies? I want to start off as a bad guy, and then over the course of our crossovers, that was her recruitment arc. She's a burglar. She's a cat burglar that's always after money.
I love it.
So, like, what I wrote down for her high concept was Bumble Burglar. I'm probably going to change that. But that's what I've got.
Are you thinking about one of her aspects being related to her being displaced from time, or maybe her trouble? I guess that might. I was just debating whether
her trouble has many facets to it. It's
Okay.
called troubled past, which means that she's had a criminal past, but it also refers to the fact that she's out of time and the fact that she
Okay.
came from the past.
I love it. So one of the things that Wings is touching on that be good to talk about here is your aspects should be specific to your character, but don't need to be too specific, kind of finding like a middle ground. They also should be double-edged. So this is both something for all of them that you can use to invoke and give yourself some sort of benefit or bonus. It's also something that you can compel for some sort of negative effect. So like the burglar aspect, Wings can compel that for or invoke that for some sort of benefit to a role of like breaking into a home, or using it to say that Vivi has connections in the underworld. There's a lot of ways you could use that. It's also something that I can compel, or that Wings can compel. You said like law enforcement might be after Vivi, or that there might be some sort of complication, legal trouble, or being identified as a burglar could come into effect too. So it's definitely something that keep in mind, is that it doesn't have to be a positive thing or a negative thing. It can be something neutral that can be used both ways, which most things can. So I wouldn't struggle too much on that, but it's something good to think of, is keeping these sort of double-edged. Anyone have a idea for theirs?
I have mine.
Tell me. Okay, go ahead. I don't know if I'm on the right track, but I'll listen to everybody else's and then see.
Yeah, we'll do
So-
Savannah's, and then if you
yeah.
have an idea, we'll talk about yours, Sid.
So I did mine the way I've always done Fate, which is with thesaurus.com open and handy.
Lots.
Sponsor us.
Please.
But so I did mine with like a couple of adjectives and then sort of like what she is, because I think I want Piper, I still want her to be a musician. I think I want her to be a singer-songwriter. And so I think I'm going to move her away from pop music. So I think she's less of a Britney Spears and like more of a Hayley Williams now. Which I think is fun. But so I have brazen, aspiring singer-songwriter, because I tried to pick an adjective to put in there that can be, like we were talking about, that can be used both ways. So I picked brazen because I think it fits her really well, and I think can be positive or negative.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, that can be used. That sounds like it could be used both ways. And then I can think of a lot of situations invoking the, so aspiring singer-songwriter or professional singer-songwriter.
I was going back and forth, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put professional in there.
Okay. Because I was thinking about like,
because those two things
with,
do sort of like can go to like brazen and professional, I think can go together or can butt up against each other really well.
Yeah. And it's whether you want to work in something about her being like, because this also kind of goes into her status and her fame and that sort of thing too. Professional means that she's going to have more,
right,
a little more leeway, a little more like authority to put in. And then obviously her musical abilities with the singer-songwriter part that you might be able to work into situations and stuff. Okay. Yeah.
I think
like
the
that.
aspiring more pertains to the songwriter part, but yeah. So I've put brazen, professional singer-songwriter.
Okay.
I like to do an adjective at the front.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too. Just to work in a little bit more personality. So what were you thinking, Sid, and how can we help you kind of?
Okay, I've added a little hearing both of those. They were beautiful. Thank you. I guess so. I put tech whiz head of a secret ancient order.
Okay. Yeah. I think I think that could work. I was debating whether we want to be more well, because your ancient order, when we come up with a name for that, wait, did you? No, we didn't come up with a name for the order. It's just the Isa family. I'd try to like get more specific when we kind of tweak the aspect to, come up with like a name for it. It's like Tech was head of the. You could do the Isa family if you want to. If she is now the head of it.
I
or if
wasn't
she's
sure.
or if she's the
It made
member, or
sense.
Tech was member of the Isa family.
Okay.
Because we all know, we've established that organization, we know what they are. That way we have that direct relation, and it kind of defines the aspect a little bit, high concept a little bit better. But so we know she's a tech whiz and that she's a member of this organization, and we can look at the conflict between the two and come up with ways to compel or invoke that.
Like, should I say she's like beholden to the family to add more possibility for tension?
If you're going to go with like beholden to the family, that might go more into your trouble, which is going to be the next aspect that we do. So we can make that, you could do tech whiz as your high concept, and then your trouble could be beholden to this organization.
No, her trouble is that she is
the Miss Persimmon aspect of it?
Oh no, I wasn't even going to go into Miss Persimmon, although I had ideas for that too. I was going to go into, so I had a thought from her background that we didn't really get into much. Her background in season 1 had been that she was actually a former like professional surfer, and like had a lot of that, but that a lot of the stress of that, she eventually gave that up. But since we're in Vegas, I think she's got to be a professional poker player, because why the fuck not?
Okay. So yeah, we'll talk about. I love that, and we'll get into that with the trouble too, because the gambling stuff and the would be a good trouble. Okay, so Tech Wiz,
member of the Isa family. I will stick
member
with that
of the Isa
now.
family. Okay, what were we thinking for Feng, RJ?
I put in troubled fledgling phantom hunter.
Okay. I was debating whether, so technically you're all going to be hunting phantoms too, so I worry that that's not going to come up unless your profession is hunting like, I'm just debating whether that's specific enough where it's not going to get overshadowed.
Right. I do want to keep the troubled fledgling part.
Yeah, I like that. Because that was the other thing, is like technically you could all add Phantom Hunter to the list too, but if you're gonna try to lean more into like, this is your character's life, is the hunt, like that's something you can compel that other people aren't necessarily going to be able to with their high concepts. This like having more knowledge of and expertise with the hunting and dealing with phantoms. If that's really what you want to lean into, you can do that. But it just depends, because you're also if you're going with the fledgling and they don't have as much experience, that might not be the direction you want to go.
Let me mull it over a bit more then.
Okay.
If anyone has any ideas.
Yeah, does anybody have any suggestions for that? Because this is collaborative. Y'all are willing to give your... And if somebody thinks I'm wrong and that's actually a good idea, then please say that as well. I'm not the only one that has to weigh in here. No ideas?
I see nothing wrong with him going with Phantom Hunter, specifically if it's referring to his family and their legacy as Phantom Hunters.
Okay. Yeah,
I feel like, yes, that is a general description of the entire group, but like that's specifically to his identity.
Yeah, I'm down with that. If we, I think that's a really good argument for going that way. So yeah, I'd say go with it. There's also, y'all are going to be able to redefine your aspects during the game too. That's one of the things we'll talk about later. But one of the your minor milestone that'll come up at the end of every session is going to allow you to redefine one of your aspects or do a couple of different things if you want to. So there's nothing to say you can't change that later on if you would like. Yeah, I like it. Oh, yes.
I named
Savannah.
Piper's label because I was inspired by the Phantom, so I'm going to call it Revenant Records.
Ooh. All right, Revenant Records. All right. We
I
have
think she's
details
more
on
of a
that.
rocker now.
Fun.
I'm-
Sort of using the formula that the rest of you guys did for high concept. I'm changing mine to avaricious thief for hire.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
I like that.
I like it a lot. Yeah, and the more I think about it, the more I think I like Feng's being the monster hunter too. Especially if Feng is going to be or the Phantom Hunter, because I think that's gonna. If Feng also ends up falling into kind of the same archetype of last time, being kind of like front lines, beat 'em up sort of thing, then I think that's gonna definitely come into play.
I think it works modified by the other adjectives that you have in there, RJ.
The troubled fledgling.
Yeah. I think the fledgling makes it, kind of sets it apart. Instead of looking at it as like troubled, fledgling, Phantom Hunter, I think troubled, fledgling Phantom Hunter is like,
Yeah.
as its own
Yeah.
unit.
I like it the more I think about it. All right, so we're gonna get into the troubled part. Your second, the one right after a high concept, I have both these labeled on the character sheets too. So if your high concept is who or what your character is, the trouble is the answer to a simple question: what complicates your character's existence? The book describes trouble brings chaos into a character's life, drives him into interesting situations. Trouble aspects are broken up into two types: personal struggles and problematic relationships. So personal struggles are about your darker side or impulses that are hard to control, such as anger management issues, sucker for a pretty face, the bottle calls to me. Problematic relationships are about people or organizations that make your life hard. Examples here being Family Man, Debt to the Mob, the Scar Triad is an example of somebody using the book as like an organization that they're beholden to. Scar Triad wants me dead. So does anyone have any ideas for troubles?
Go ahead, Savvy.
I have one for my problematic relationship, which I think is the record company. I think that's a fairly strict relationship. So I put beholden to Revenant Records
Okay.
as mine for that. Because I think
So there are two lines. So we would be doing both, right? Like a something about ourselves and then also a problematic relationship. So
No. You only get one trouble.
oh, okay.
And not to say you couldn't add one. Like, we're going to define more aspects. Don't we do the 3 phases, and you'll get more aspects out of that. You could have more complications or personal struggles come in. This is your character's like defining. You have to have at least one trouble, or one thing you would define as a trouble. So for this one, you would pick either a personal struggle or, well, it doesn't have to be one of these two, but these are examples of how they could be, how they're defined. Where they typically fall into. So yeah, I would pick something about a personal struggle or something about a problematic relationship. If you're thinking like a professional gambler, you could say like you owe debts to somebody, or that you are, or have a fixation or an addiction to gambling, something like that.
Find a way, because
I added strictly.
Strictly beholden to Revenant Records.
Revenant Records is what I put for mine.
Gotcha.
I've got 2, but one of them is a personal relationship thing, and the other is for Feng himself. Personal, he has to keep this a secret from his family.
Okay. I like that.
And then the second one would have been prone to rash choices.
I like either one works. I do like the having the connection to your family, like needing to keep that a secret. I think that brings a lot in. Troubles are also something you can also invoke. Like just because it's a trouble doesn't mean it's always going to be used as a complication. It's something you might be able to evoke for a benefit too. The book says your experience through the trouble makes you a stronger person in that regard. Dealing with struggles leaves you vulnerable to being tempted or cajoled, but can also give you a sense of inner strength because you know the sort of person you want to be. And problematic relationships often cause trouble, but people do learn hard lessons from the troubles they deal with. They especially learn how to maneuver around many smaller issues their troubles present. So this says, let's see, give you an example here. Yeah, it says like Ryan's rivals in the Collegia Arcana can come in handy when dealing with rivals he knows well. He knows what to expect from their tactics. He could also use this aspect to gain aid from people who share his rivals. So it's something that you can benefit. Piper being strictly beholden to this record label might give her the ability to invoke it when confronting them or trying to work around them or trying to relate to other musicians or other people that are in similar circumstances to her. There are a lot of ways it can be used.
I think I'm going to go with the family secret thing.
Yeah.
I have thought, and I feel like I want to put these two into one, but I don't exactly know how. My thought is this. The gambling, she's very good at it. I'm thinking she's probably a card counter too. God damn it. But still dealing with juggling the control of dealing with Ms. Persimmon. Maybe when she gambles, Ms. Persimmon is more likely to either take control or come out in some way. Or
Tell me what your concept was again.
Tech savvy member of the Isa family.
Two-faced gambler.
Ooh.
I like it.
I love it.
This is my favorite part of Fate, is just coming up with
Thank
like titles for aspects and things. Yeah.
Wings, help me.
What do you need?
With my troubles, condensing it down.
Brash and need to hide this from my family.
Yeah.
Rebellious. I teenager.
I'm just a teenage dirtbag baby.
We don't even necessarily have to be teens here. I feel like we're aging up just a tad. Like I feel
it
like
seems
we're
like it.
Early
more
20s.
in 20s, 30s, pushing 40s area here. Like think of something that starts with rebellious. And like the thing about these things is that you title them and we know what they stand for, essentially. Yeah. Like for instance, troubled past, like that refers to a couple of different things. So I don't know, rebellious secrets is all I can think of.
I'll workshop it some more.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, anyone is free to change these if you come up with like better like quippy lines that you want to do that bring it kind of invokes more examples for you if you want to. All right, so I think everyone talked about their trouble a little bit. Everyone's talked about their high concept. So we're gonna go and jump into the phase trio. And this might give you more examples to pull from. So on your character sheets, I made the high concept and trouble kind of defined there, and then there's a blank one spot underneath where there's a duplicate button where you can create more of those blank. That you're going to get 3 more aspects through the through this process of the phase trio. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, but you'll put these aspects into 3 more blank spots. Oh, yes, Savannah.
I have a suggestion about the sheet layout.
Sure.
Could you label this section as aspects? Because it's just going to look like we have a bunch of stuff under our trouble.
Well, the thing says aspects above.
It's confusing
aspects
because this
above
one
high
doesn't
content.
have a subtitle. It's confusing to my brain.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll add that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll I'll put so you just want me to put aspects again?
Aspects or other aspects or
Addition.
minor aspects or something like that, just to differentiate that, because right now it just looks like it's part of the trouble category and it's messing with
Right.
my brain.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I
minor
can do that.
aspects or additional aspects.
Yeah, that I think that would be helpful.
Let me see. Okay,
Just so
I'll do
that
that while y'all
section
are
is
writing your stuff.
differentiated.
You'll have to go in and update your sheets, but we'll do that in a second. So,
Sorry, I just think it would be helpful.
the phase trio, the way this is going to work is this is going to give you your next 3 aspects. So you're going to describe your character's first adventure, describe how you cross paths with the other 2 characters, and write down 1 aspect for each of these 3 experiences. So what you're going to do is write a part of your adventure. So this is going to be some sort of essentially like your first book, episode, case, movie, whatever you want to talk about. This is the first chapter of your story, or at least the first like important thing that happened to you, or the most important thing. Doesn't necessarily need to be the first. So you need to think up and write down the basic details of the story for the phases summary. The story doesn't need to have a lot of detail. In fact, a pair of sentences works pretty well because your fellow players will add in their own details to this phase, past adventure, and the next 2 phases. So you're going to write something. You write a couple of sentences for this, like what happened here. If you're having trouble answering them, we can kind of talk about it amongst ourselves. It gives some like kind of example questions in the book of like things to think about, like something bad happened. What was it? Did it happen to you or someone you cared about? Someone that you were coerced into helping? What did you do about the problem? What goal did you pursue? Who stood against you? Did you expect the opposition you got? Did it come out of nowhere? And did you win? Did you lose? Either way, what consequences arose from the outcome? So we can talk about these together if people have ideas or want to kind of workshop. But you're going to write just a couple sentences on what this adventure is, and then you're going to come up with an aspect based off of it. So you're going to summarize it into a quippy little few words, and that's going to be your aspect that is tied to this. Then you're going to take this, we're going to pass them to another player. They're going to add their own little part of the story, and you're going to add your part to somebody else's story, and you're going to come up with a different aspect based on that. Does that make sense to everyone?
So we
Okay.
start off with like an origin story, then we pass it to the right, and then like you, like the way that I've handled this in the past is like, how did you guys 2 meet, or like what is like the defining characteristic of you two's like interaction?
Yeah.
Like how did character B contribute to character A's story, essentially?
The way the book says is that because you play a supporting role in their story, you're not the star of it. You just helped them out in some way, and so it's going to be. It says supporting roles come in 3 forms, based what the book suggests. It's complicating the adventure. So you made some part of of this story, of this origin, uncertain. You did something that made it worse or got them in trouble. You solved the situation or a part of the situation. You gave them something they needed, or you did some combination of the both. You complicated it in one way and you solved something in another. So think about that. But yeah, it could be how you met, or if not how you met, how you got to know each other better and got more involved in each other's lives. How some way that your relationship developed, and like I said, when you create your own story, you're going to get an aspect based on that. When you add to somebody's stories, you're also getting an aspect there. That aspect can be like related to that other person. You can be a relationship that's like, I've got Piper's back or something like that, or like, you know, saying that like you support them, and like some sort of relationship aspect that you can pull on later, or it can be something totally intrinsic to you about like, you know, how you dealt with it, and you know, more of like how you, an aspect that draws from how you complicated or solved the situation.
This is always the part that it's my favorite part, but it always confuses me. So we're gonna in the end we're gonna wind up with 3 aspects total. And the first aspect is just an origin story where you don't cross over with anyone else.
Yes.
And then the next 2 are just gonna be basically the person to your right and then the person like to their right.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it's gonna be when. So let's just start this on the first step. So everybody, we'll just start with the first part here. Everybody go ahead and write your origin story in a couple of sentences, and we're gonna either come up with an aspect, or we can talk with the group about an aspect you can draw from that story.
Okay, I'll go first. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on what I want to do. Essentially, Vivi starts off kind of the same way that she did last time, where she's a person out of time. She doesn't really know where she is. She doesn't trust her own memories. But I want to say that her family was involved with the mob back in her original time. So she kind of has a more criminal bend to begin with. So instead of going out and like trying to like, you know, get like a regular working person's job, she starts going about and like trying to make money the way that she knows how to make money, which is by stealing things for other people. So I think that an aspect that she could derive from this is that she doesn't necessarily trust her own memories, but she doesn't really care. So,
Okay.
I'll come up with a catchy phrase for it, but like it's I can see it being two-sided in the sense that like she well I think that the idea is that she's supposed to have a good memory, but she doesn't think that she does.
Okay.
Because it just doesn't make sense to her.
I was thinking of also like how you could define that aspect.
So it's
yeah. I can't think of something pithy, but yeah, I do like that. So, okay. So I guess I like, so you're sorry. So the story would be, grew up in the mob family, transitioned to or somehow traveled through time, ended up in this point in the future alone, not really sure how to reconcile what happened, ends up in another life of crime in her current state of being a professional burglar.
Right. Like whenever invoking this aspect, I think that I would personally be trying to like push her her sensitivity to like time changes. Like, you know, we like that one TikTok we saw about bees and how they have like an innate sense of time. The idea that she's kind of aware that something happened, but like it's not something that she'll even like look at until, I mean, maybe the way that this manifests in present day is that she has a photographic memory. So like she has a photographic memory, but she thinks she's an amnesiac. Like there's something that I can go with there.
Yeah, there's something that I can't think of. I can't think of something.
The phrase itself is going to be an oxymoron. I'll let you know when I come up with it, but this is what I'm going with.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so if you have that written down in a way in a summary, hold on to that for now, and we'll get to the part about passing in a second. Does anybody else have their origin story written?
Still thinking.
I'm almost done.
Okay.
Tell me if this is off base. I'm just trying to think of going with the idea that in this timeline, Penny grew up within the Eyes organization, and unlike Feng's family, like they kept it from him. She was very aware from a young age of all of this. So okay, this is what I wrote. Penny grew up within the Eyes organization, knowing that she would one day need to take over as head of the family from her mother. She's very proud of that heritage, but sometimes the pressure and necessity of their work becomes overwhelming.
Okay. Yeah, I think that works because the story doesn't necessarily, your origin doesn't necessarily need to have like a conclusion.
It
I
wasn't
guess
like an event that happened. It's like literally she's been growing up with us.
Can people think of ways that they might be able to interject in that? Do we feel like that's a good?
Sorry, repeat what you said.
No problem. Penny grew up within the Eyes organization, knowing that she would one day have to take over as the head of the family from her mother. She's very proud of her heritage, but sometimes the pressure and necessity of the work becomes overwhelming.
Okay. Do you have a name for that?
No.
Yeah, do you have an aspect?
I feel like it's similar to us brainstorming RJ's trouble. I feel like pressure is a good word to have in there somewhere. So like inherited pressure or something along those lines.
Okay.
I decided to go with eidetic amnesiac.
Okay.
I love that.
Sorry, I'm going through your story in my head again.
Here, I'll put it in the.
Yeah. I would add one more sentence of like I think I just need one more piece to like round out the story. It's like work becomes overwhelming. What does that lead to? That would kind of capstone.
That she just goes and gambles more.
Okay, I would add that to the end of the story. Like, so she ended up in a life of professional gambling to deal with the stress or to regain control of her life, or however you into like, what is the reason? Like, the connection between her growing up, having this like,
semblance.
Because if you see it as a control thing, then I think we can work with that for defining the aspect.
Okay, I just added it. She ended up in a life of professional gambling to regain some semblance of control over her life.
Feel like I almost have it. So yeah, I would
something
go with
under pressure, like doesn't do well under pressure, or acts out under pressure, or
Cracks under pressure.
Cracks under pressure.
I like that.
And that's just the thing, is that like if you crack under pressure, that sounds like a negative thing. But like if you crack and like you go off on somebody, like it, like I'm imagining her with like a very like reserved personality.
Oh yeah,
but
she's
like,
still Penny. Just
but like once she cracks, you're the one that's in trouble.
Yeah, I could see that using being able to invoke it to say like in a high tensity, like high stress situation, to say like she is like the veil or the mask is gone. I'm just gonna fucking go to town on this person.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Oh yeah, go.
So, in the same vein, on a routine delivery for the antique store, Feng becomes entangled in an incident with a phantom, which awakens his abilities. The sudden flux of power causes the destruction of a nearby building. and I said either explosive awakening or unbridled power.
So is the conclusion of the story? Read it. Read the. I guess read it for me one more time, just so I.
Okay. On a routine delivery for the antique store, Feng becomes entangled in an incident with a phantom, which awakens his abilities. The sudden flux of power causes the destruction of a nearby building.
How does the situation resolve? I think that's what I need here. Is just what is the conclusion here?
The phantom is defeated.
Okay.
Did he have to explain the situation or like get out of the situation?
He
for
had
the
to
destruction
run.
of the building, or
Yeah. Like, was the blowback like him trying to hide those powers, or like did he try to hide the situation from his parents, or did he try to cover it up, or like how did he get out of that potential, like the blowback from that?
So I think he just used there was a gas main. It exploded.
Okay.
I'm all right though.
Okay.
The Vespa's kind of destroyed. We need a new one.
No.
See, I think what it maybe speaks to is like I like the idea of like the aspect relating to this like surgence of like this very powerful anima, but it seems like it doesn't have like a good grasp on it. So probably a combination of the two. I think unbridled power probably works because again that it emphasizes the lack of control, but also the having this like this power that has been generated or kind of created through generations of use and being passed down to him. Like it's.
Actually, I think from a narrative standpoint, it'd be more interesting if the Phantom got away.
Okay. Like the Phantom escaped and Feng had to deal with the
blowback
consequences. Yeah. Okay. Savannah, do you have one?
Yep. I call this alarmingly ambitious.
Okay.
Piper grew up in poverty in a small town outside Las Vegas, always looking out at the city lights. When she discovered her anima and its abilities during a musical performance, she decided to use it to her advantage to gain a career in music and never lost this ambition.
What, do you have an idea for an aspect?
Mm-hmm. That's what I said at the beginning.
Oh, what is it?
Alarmingly ambitious.
Alarmingly ambitious. Okay. All right. So everyone has their story and an aspect tied to that. Correct? All right. So what we're going to do, and we're going to take our break here. We'll come back to do this next part, is y'all are going to pass your story to someone else, and they're going to add to it. So like we were saying before, this is phase 2 of the phase trio, the crossing paths. So what you're going to do is your character played a supporting role in whatever happened. It could be, like I said, complicating it somehow, trying to solve a situation. You could have helped in some way. In Feng's case, you could have helped with like the fallout of what happened, or something along the way that you did to either complicate or solve the situation, or a combination of both. You're gonna write a couple sentences again how you played a supporting role here, because you're playing a supporting role. You're not the central focus of the story. And then based on what you did in that situation of how you behaved, what you brought to the table, you're going to create another aspect for yourself based on your role in the story. So you'll do the same thing. You'll write what you did, how you helped, and then you will draw an aspect from it, which will be your next aspect on your sheet. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. And what the way we're going to do it, so I'm going to have you each, before when we're on break, each DM your story to the other person. So Savannah will send hers to RJ. RJ will send his to Sid. Sid will send hers to Wings. And Wings will send hers to Savannah. All make sense?
Yeah.
All right. That is going to be all we'll do in this first half then. So we're going to go ahead and take our break. Everyone out there watching, we will be back very soon to do the next 2 parts of our phase trio and then get into the rest of character creation. So stick with us for just a little bit while we're gone. Try to relax, stretch, drink some water, eat a snack, take your meds, anything you need to do, and we will see you here in a few minutes. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Internet. Thanks for hanging out with us while we took our break. We're just going to jump right back into our character creation here. We still got a pretty good amount to get through, but we're in our in the second part of the what is it called again? Phase trio. That's it. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about that. So everybody has written their kind of origin story. Gained another aspect for their characters based on that. They have given their stories to one of the other players who is kind of interjecting their supporting role in this character's origin, how they helped or how they made things worse, and are going to gain another aspect based on that. I'll give you guys a second if you need more time, or does anybody need help with their scenario?
Well, I have a hard time writing things down in the moment, but like open brainstorming, I'm all about. So I've got Penny for my first crossover, and like to kind of help other folks out with the ideas that I have. I feel like Vivi either got into a gambling match with Penny, or she was stealing something from Penny. Like I want some of my early stories to be in direct opposition with the other players.
Which makes sense coming in as a criminal character.
Backroom, illegal, like not sanctioned, like poker match.
Yes. And I think that Vivi lost the match, but she got the thing that she was after. Like, she wasn't there to win the match, but she was there to steal something. The match was a cover-up.
So that would kind of count as being like a like solving a situation / complicating. Like, you helped Penny a little bit by essentially like losing the match, and she gained something from that, but also complicated it by stealing something from. Did you steal from Penny or somebody, or like somebody else at the casino that then maybe put Penny in some hot water because she was involved in this event?
I think it put Penny in some hot water. I think that it's like specifically it was like an artifact that was like precious to her family or something like that. There was like a gala of some sort, and like this backroom gambling match wasn't necessarily sanctioned. It was happening like it was a fancy soiree, and then like this gambling match happened in the back room, and somehow because of that gambling match, Vivi managed to get away with what she wanted. And I think that the aspect that she gets from this is always comes out on top, which or got what I came for, which is like she's willing to like throw certain things in order to get what she really wants.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so what you're gonna do now is to prepare for the next part. So you add the aspect to your sheet, and then you're gonna send the story that you got from Penny with the addition of what you added to the next player, which will be Savannah. So we'll do that in a second. So hold on to it for now. Anybody else have anything, or who wants to go next?
I put down that Feng was there.
Whose story did you get?
I got Piper's or Sven's.
Okay.
So a callback from season 1. Having seen Piper in her debut concert and loved her music, he starts a forum message board to help increase her fan base. Which I wouldn't say explodes her career, but like it like gets her some followers.
Like boosts her career. Yeah.
Boosts her career. And the aspect from that would be secret supporter. Like he knows how to lay low.
Yeah. I like that. You could even make it specific if you want to do like Piper secret supporter, but I'm okay with leaving it vague if you want to leave it.
I'll
leave it vague. Okay.
Secret Valentine. What?
I like it a lot. Okay. And same deal with what I said to Wings is just write that up or summarize that, and you don't necessarily need to send the aspect that you picked to the other person, just what you did, so the other person can either play off that or do something different. Okay, so Sid and Savannah, do you need help, or do you have something in mind?
I have mine.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So I got Vivi, or Wings. So I added Vivi might have gaps in her memory, but rarely forgets a friendly face. She looked up Piper after seeing her on a billboard, and recognizing her, and Piper immediately jumped at the chance to help spend time with Vivi and try to piece together more of her memories. Who doesn't love talking about themselves? So I gave myself the aspect cheerful narcissist.
Okay.
Because
like
she really is trying to help.
And I also like the idea that
We know how Piper is.
Vivi has a friendship with Piper even during her criminal career. I feel like that's
Yes.
something that can come back later.
Yes.
And is probably an aspect of how she wound up joining the group.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. That just leaves us with Penny.
I just said that so I got Feng's portion. I said that Penny was on duty that day and kind of went to investigate this phantom presence. So she ended up witnessing Feng's abilities for the first time and kind of discovered, oh shit, here's that other heir. Well, there we go. So to help out, she tapped into the local security footage to make sure that he stayed out of more serious trouble. And then offered to tell him more about the ancient families and get him up to speed with all of that. And then, I don't know, maybe accidentally send him on the path of, you never told me, to his family. I don't know.
I like that because, again, helps and complicates things.
Yeah, but I said for her aspect was, don't worry, I've got this.
Cool. I like it a lot. Great. These are some really good aspects, y'all, and good additions to the story. Okay, so everybody has that. Everybody have that written up in a nice way. Okay, so once again, at least enough that the other person has the vague idea what's going on with it. And also, you're going to send all these to me at the end, so I'd like to be able to read them in a legible manner. So go ahead and send the combination of the original message you got and what you just added to the next player. So same person you sent it to before. Savannah to RJ to Sid to Wings, and Wings to Savannah. And I think this should leave us with everyone having some connection to another player, even if you didn't get to help them with their story. We'll give it a second there. I'll go ahead and talk about what we're going to do after this while y'all are brainstorming a bit. So once we get through this, we're going to go ahead and do our talk about some of our mechanics. We're going to get into skills, things like that. I think I mentioned this off stream. I don't know if I mentioned it on stream, but for everyone watching, these aspects will change during play. They will continue to develop, especially as characters grow and change and evolve and relationship dynamics change. That's one of the things that'll happen at the end of every session. Actually, is giving the players an opportunity to adjust their aspects. Does anyone want to like talk about one of theirs out loud or brainstorm theirs?
Okay, who are we crossing over with now? The person that...
The
'Cause
original story. You are playing a supporting role in the origin story of whoever you have. So I think yours will be
You got Fangs, yeah.
Feng. Okay.
Feng. So you are playing a role in Feng's origin story.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to decide which story should be the one where she's officially recruited. And honestly, it probably should be the one where she gets the aspect, because that's going to reflect more on her. So that means it's on Feng to recruit her.
Again?
Well, this time she's stealing shit, so...
Don't do that. That's bad.
I want to say maybe Feng was responding to some sort of phantom presence, and it turned out to not be a phantom. It turned out to be a thief instead. And
What
You blew up the building?
What if it's more of what if instead of being like separate incidents, what if it is the same incident when Feng is runs into this this anima had something in connection with Vivi's crime. So maybe because Feng's thing is he was on his way home or like doing like a delivery or something.
Yeah.
Was that it? Maybe like Vivi stole whatever he was trying to deliver, and while she was trying to escape, the phantom attack happened.
Sorry, I'm trying to wrap my mind around everything.
Blow up the building.
He tried to steal a Ming Dynasty vase.
Well,
Because you would, if we're still going with the antique shop, like the stuff that you're delivering would be, or somehow like your thieving is what led to this incident happening. Because it should be involved in the same incident, not like creating a new incident that transpired.
so like we're thinking of, okay, we're trying to consolidate a little here. As far as order of operations, walk me through what happened with Fang again. I have a hard time like reading and listening at the same time.
Fang was on a routine delivery with an antique from the shop. There was a phantom attack,
Okay.
and then his powers awakened.
Okay. Were so you were delivering something from the shop to somewhere else?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, okay. This like puts importance on the artifact itself. I want to say that the artifact had a phantom attached to it. And Vivi was supposed to steal that artifact in particular. And in the process of trying to get the artifact away from him, the artifact was broken and it released the phantom. And then Vivi, there was a choice to be made there. She either ran away or Okay, I'm trying to think of the story in terms of like how it reflects on Vivi. Maybe she puts a certain importance on family, and so instead of running or realizing that it was going to put Fang's family in danger, like she either stayed to help or like she like did something to distract them to get them away from the danger. Or I'm spitballing here. Does anybody have any ideas?
I'd say RJ, if you have any ideas here.
I kind of want it so that maybe Vivi's the reason why Penny was alerted to this incident.
Because Penny's been keeping an eye on Vivi ever since she screwed her over that one time.
So maybe
So did you?
maybe Penny wasn't on duty then. Maybe someone else picked it up, and then Penny found out that
Shit,
Vivi
it's
might be
her.
involved and be like, no, I'm going on this one.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to give Vivi more action and over this, like maybe she knew that Penny was keeping an eye on her and notified her like discreetly or indirectly that this was going on, so she didn't have to help, but like directly, but she could help by getting somebody who knew what they were doing there.
Maybe the delivery was supposed to be to Penny.
Ooh.
Because she realized that like she was just shopping one day, realized that artifact was like had a phantom inside, and she's like, yeah, I'll buy that to you know, like make sure that it's no longer a threat to the general society. And then Vivi shows up once again to be a bee in her bonnet. Either that, or like somebody else was on duty and they're all like, yeah, there was nothing there, just a bunch of bees. And she's like, bees? I don't want to complicate things too much.
I like keeping it like, again, the we could keep it vague and say, or keep it more streamlined and say, going off your idea, Vivi caught wind of this delivery, goes to steal it, ends up breaking it in the process. Her involvement is what drew Penny into the situation. And just leave it at that. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be like too fleshed out.
Okay,
we can just
but
keep it
the question still remains, like, what aspect does Vivi
Yeah.
derive from this?
Yeah.
Because, like, I think that what happened is that Vivi tried to steal it, released the phantom, oops, and then...
I have an idea. Wrong place, right time.
Okay.
So has a knack for ending up in the wrong in bad situations that could end up like that she could help out with. And it kind of goes more into like her burglaring and kind of putting herself into these complicated and dangerous scenarios, but trying to make the best out of them.
Wrong place, right time. Okay. I'll say that she showed up to steal the artifact. Phantom breaks out of the artifact. There's no more artifact to steal. She sticks around long enough to help out a little bit, but then she bounces to kind of like start to like ingratiate her to the group. But she's still not necessarily a part of it.
Yeah, that works. Cool. I think we can put a pin in that one. Like I said, we can develop them more later. They don't have to be totally fleshed out right now if you want to switch or change or come up with more details later on. Who wants to go next?
I'm having a hard time reconciling Vivi's story into Fang's story.
Me too. I was just gonna go a completely different direction, but I feel like it got complicated trying to consolidate them.
So you have Vivi's. We have Piper has stepped in by trying to provide more. Remind me what Piper's was exactly.
Vivi might have gaps in her memories, but rarely forgets a friendly face. She looked up Piper after seeing her on a billboard and recognized her. Piper immediately jumped at the chance to help, spend time with Vivi, and try to piece together more of her memories. who doesn't love talking about themselves.
Okay.
Maybe Piper knows you now because you're like the unofficial president of her fan club.
Well, so this is Vivi's story,
This is
so he's
Vivi's
got to
story.
add to supporting or complicating things for Vivi.
Well, yeah, but that's maybe how those two connected on it, and then Feng could have
Tracked
looked up
her
Vivi
down and then-
afterwards, because this can all like kind of coincide. It doesn't all have to be.
Well,
So like, and then maybe recognized her, and maybe they started a friendship from there.
Because I wanted to. The end goal is to use the aspect "fool me once," which is he forgives Vivi for trying to rob, but he keeps an eye on her.
Okay.
Well, the fact that she stuck around to help deal with the problem is like probably like the good that he sees in her. But like she still wanted to steal from his family to begin with, which is, no bueno.
Fool me once, a healthy dose of skepticism.
So what
Fang
if
sees a
Fang-
picture of Piper and Vivi in a tabloid and is like,
Motherfucker.
that's a chick with the bees.
So what? Yeah. What if
Tries
it's
to
like,
warn Piper that
I was like, no, she's
Vivi does
great.
crime. Piper's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ding.
Crime Stoppers? Sorry. Web captioner said something about Crime Stoppers, and now I want to be like, who are you, Crime Stoppers?
I'm still getting over web captioner going fuck furnace.
Fuck Furnace.
Okay, cool. So you have your aspect there too, just building out like how that comes about, the details there. We can get back to that if you want to talk about it more. Anything from Piper or Penny?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to put Piper in a casino.
I guess whether she's working or performing, or if she was there to blow up some steam. What do you think?
Probably. I don't know. I don't think she gambles.
So what is the this is Penny's
Vivi.
origin.
Yeah, Vivi lost a high stakes game of backroom poker to Penny, but the distraction was enough for her to get away with an artifact important to Penny's family, landing Penny in hot water.
What if Piper used her connections to get Penny out of hot water? Maybe she's performed at this casino before and has a good relationship with the owner.
I assumed Penny was in trouble with her family.
I guess that's the question. Was she in trouble with her family or with somebody? What was stolen? Something from the casino or something from Penny's?
Something
family?
from Penny's family.
Okay.
Go with me. Something from Penny's family. But it's an important historical artifact or something. And maybe the family was lending it to the casino for some reason. And then it got stolen.
Okay. So the theft is against the casino and Penny's
And her
family.
family.
Okay.
And Piper could help get her at least out of the hot water with the casino due to connections.
Penny owes me.
Yeah. Or you owe Penny, because my thought for this one, I got Piper had the musical performance, said use your advantage, and then Feng saw one of the concert, loved her music, and helped her out. So if Feng saw it, maybe AIM did too. Because maybe using her, her abilities during the performance, so maybe AIM got wind of it, and so did Penny's fam. So Penny and the fam did something tech-wise to fuck with that particular the footage of the performance and make sure that they got off of Piper's tail.
I'm muted. So then in return, Piper got the casino offer back.
Okay, so what are the aspects they all are thinking of for these? Because I didn't know if that when you said Penny owes me, you wanted that to be your aspect.
Something like that, but like,
Or it could have gone the other way. Like
I
that
know,
happened first with the casino, and then Penny helped out afterwards. That could work too.
I think that makes sense. The Piper's like assumes that Vivi's probably involved. It's like, God, are you serious? Tries to do something to mitigate the circumstances a little bit. Get the casino off Penny's back. Hopefully also get them off Vivi's back. Cover it up a little bit. Make it go away. And then in return,
Penny helped out.
mm-hmm.
So what aspects are you all thinking of, or how would you like to define these? Again, they don't have to be related to the other character, but they can be if that feels appropriate.
I think for Penny it'll be I keep a clean slate. Like she does not like owing anyone anything. Like, you know, I'll come through, but like we're square.
I like that.
I'm gonna call mine. You scratch my back. I'll scratch yours.
I just figured out. I'm sorry. I just figured out how to make the wrong place, right time thing work out. Vivi knows nothing about Feng. She was just running from Penny, and bumped into Feng, making him drop the artifact, which released the Phantom. She's the reason why they met. She's the reason why Penny and Feng met.
Okay.
So she had nothing to do with anything. She just ran away.
I like it. Okay, so we've got wrong place, right time, and then yours is you scratch my back for Piper, owing or kind of relating to her, like kind of quid pro quo relationship, whereas Penny's, because I was just making sure I differentiated between the two. Yours is more like establishing a quid pro quo.
I'm gonna call
Penny's
it that
is more
'cause I like
like
that better.
quid pro quo.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
shorter.
And then Penny's is more about like not owing anyone anything.
I don't know people. Like I'll
Okay.
you know, you do me a favor, okay, great. I'll do you one and then we're square.
I like it. Cool. So we have our phase show. You guys should all have your story with both of the so everyone, whoever did the last one, send it back to the original player. So they have the full thing. And then when y'all have your stories, go ahead and send them to me. So I have them in my DMs. And we're going to move on to some more simple aspects of this game. They require a little less thinking. I'll give you all a second to get that stuff ready. Just give me some thumbs up when y'all are good. You having trouble there, Wings?
I have a really hard time writing under pressure.
That's okay. If you don't need to finish it right now. If you wanna wait, you can send it to me later. Do not worry. Is everybody at least at a good place to put a pin in that and then move on to dealing with skills? I'll wait for Savannah and Wings.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm good.
Wings, you good? Okay. Like I said, don't worry about it right now if you wanna wait. Work at your own speed. So the next part is picking skills. This is where things are a little bit more complicated between the sheet and will require a little bit of explanation based on how things are set up in roll. So once you've mapped out your character's phases, chosen aspects, because I think we've done all that. Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna pick skills and you're gonna create a pyramid with them. So the cap right now, or the where we're starting at, is like the highest one you're gonna have is a +4, which is great. I think you have a spot on your sheet for up to +5. That's gonna be like the highest you'll be able to have in the entire game, but for right now at character creation, the highest skill you're going to have is a +4. And here's the way that this works. There's a number of skills that... Does everyone have the rule book somewhere? It's in the OneDrive if you need a PDF copy of it. But it's on page, so the part that talks about skills is on page 46, but the list of the default skills is page 96. What you're going to do is you're going to pick one skill that you're going to have at great, which is going to be +4. You're going to pick 2 skills that are going to be at +3. You're going to have 3 that are at +2 and 4 that are at +1. So it's going to make kind of a pyramid if you're stacking them on top of each other. The list is on page 96. It should also give like a description of what those are, and how they what they relate to. This is also something we don't necessarily need to sit down and all do together in this game, but I will go ahead and point out a couple of things with the way that skills work. So let me see. I'm gonna get to page 96. So there's a default list, and on page 97 it kind of gives a breakdown and like a chart, kind of showing you what those skills look like, or like what they relate to. Some of them, all the skills you can use to overcome obstacles or create an advantage. Each of the skills also gives a neat little breakdown on its page of like kind of giving examples on like how they work and how they overcome. So like, for example, with athletics, it says athletics allows you to overcome an obstacle that requires physical movement, jumping, running, climbing, swimming, etc. If it resembles something you do in the decathlon, you roll athletics. Create an advantage. When you create an advantage with athletics, you're jumping to high ground, running faster than the opponent can keep up with, or performing dazzling acrobatic maneuvers in order to confound your foes. So all of the skills will have some sort of description of how they work when you're overcoming or creating advantage. Only some skills are able to use. You're able to use to attack with. That is fight, provoke, and shoot. And there's about half the skills, it looks like, basically are you can use to defend, based on the situation. There are 2 skills that will relate to other abilities and kind of help you out a bit as well. Physique and will are a little bit special, where the higher your physique is, the more I need to remember the name of the thing, the more physical stress you can take. The higher your will is, the more mental stress you can take. So the default on your sheets is you have 2 boxes to choose from. So if you look on the character sheets on Roll20, you're going to see that I had to set it up where there are 4. I would ask that everyone preemptively just go ahead and check off the 3rd and 4th slots on both of those. Those are full. You can't use them unless you specifically pick something up so you can use them later on. So just go ahead and mark 3 and 4. If you have a higher physique or a higher will, for example, the way it works, if your physique or will is at a good, which is +3, or a great, which is +4, then it's going to give you the 3-point and the 4-point stress boxes. So you'll have additional ways to overcome dangers, or you can take more of a beating mentally and physically. At some point, if you're able to get a +5, if you boost your will up to a +5, or your physique up to a +5, you can gain an additional mild consequence slot. We'll talk more about how those work, but they function like your damage track in the game. So you can look at it as having more hit points. Those are basically the special ones for this. And again, the way that we're going to kind of handle it is your fight both pertains to your ability to punch and stab and kick with your human body as well as your anima. There's kind of be an overlap between the two. I'm not going to create I thought about creating a special skill for anima attacks or something, but I think I decided against that. Yes.
Inversely, if your anima does primarily ranged attacks, would you put points into shoot?
Shoot, yeah, would be a good one. If you want ranged attacks for your anima, I'd go with shoot. If you want melee attacks with your anima, I'd go with fight.
Can you give us the breakdown again of how many we get in each of them? Like how many for 4, 3, 2, and 1?
So the highest one you're going to have is +4. So you're going to have 1 in +4, which is great. And then you're going to have 2 in +3, 3 in +2, and then 4 in the +1.
Thank you.
It's like a pyramid.
Yeah, it's going to form a pyramid. And the way that your improvement works in this game, when you get the chance to improve skills, is you cannot have more skills at a level than you have at the level below it. So like you could not have 2 +4 skills and 1 +3 skill. So you kind of have to, when you build your character and you develop, you've got to add to the bottom layers before you can improve the top layers. So it keeps your characters a little more balanced. So you're gonna get to pick, I guess that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 you're starting with. If my math is correct. And there are 18 on the default skill list, so you will definitely not have everything when you start out. You can gain more skills later on, so you're not locked into these for the rest of the game. But these are going to be your starting ones. Does anybody have any idea of like which ones they want to pick for their top skills? Yes, Savannah.
I have almost all of mine. My top skill, I'm gonna do rapport.
Okay. Yeah. That checks out.
And then under good, I'm gonna do contacts and athletics.
Okay. Contacts, athletics. All right.
I've got physique in my great slot, and for good, I have fight athletics.
Makes
Well,
sense.
evidently burglary is a skill, so
Heck yes, it is.
I feel obligated to take it in a high position.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I figure Penny's got to go lore as her great, having that big old database of shit. And then probably investigate.
I think
LB's having a great
having
time.
a great time.
Still thinking, but definitely lore at the top, I think.
Okay. Yeah, take your time with it. Let's see. And yeah,
what I'm doing
okay.
is I'm basically going down the list and looking at things that I feel like I need, and I'm making a list of 10 things that I know that I want, and then I'm going to look at that list of 10 things and I'm going to say, what's the best thing out of this? Like, what am I best at in this list? What am I worst at in this list? And then just go from there.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it. And yeah, anyone that takes physique or will as a what is it?
+3 or +4.
Yeah, +3 or +4. You can go ahead and clear one of your 3 or 4 slots on either your mental damage track or your physical damage track. And the good thing is, like I said, if your skills will improve throughout the game, you can gain more slots on your damage track when you are improved later on. So if your physique for some reason goes up or your will goes up to one of those levels, you will gain more points on the damage track at that point. So you're not locked in by not picking it now. The way that so you talk about it for people that haven't played. So the way that physical stress and mental stress work in this game is when you're in a conflict where you're in danger of taking damage, typically like in combat or something, and you take a hit or you fail a defense roll or or get hit in some way where I say you take damage, based on how many steps in the track that you fail, you take like a number of like damage equal to those steps. So let's say I attack you with something and you fail it by 3 steps, then you have to mark off at least one of your damage tracks. The corresponding number to the damage track kind of equals like how many it's worth. So if you take a hit of 3, you would either have to mark off your 1 and 2 on the damage track, or you can mark off your 3 on the damage track to like negate that damage. You can also take consequences instead. At the end of like a conflict, once a scene ends, you recover everything off of from your physical and mental tracks. So they just go back. You don't have to worry about healing or something. Consequences are injuries that you would then need to heal at some point, or there's some sort of like debilitation that you have to take care of. And some of that will take longer than a scene to get rid of. And they function the same way where they have numeric values.
All right, I think I've got everything hashed out here as far as skills go.
Okay. Anybody else have any like concerns, questions, brainstorming? No.
Kind of sad that the craft skill does not involve craft of machinery.
I had a question about that. I was thinking of taking that as possibly a one of my good, but can that be again more in like the tech savvy mind of like, could she like fucking build a computer basically, or like mess with a computer technology wise? Like, would that fit more in crafts?
Let's see. Crafts allows you to build, break, or fix machinery, presuming you have the time and tools you need. Often actions of crafts help with a component in more complex situations. And it says... Yeah, I mean, so RJ, what was it what you were saying about crafts? So just so I can reconcile the two. You were saying that crafts, you were saying it doesn't involve machinery, or that it?
I think Sid wants to reflavor it for more of a computer-based craft instead of machinery as a whole.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it says here the default skill is called crafts because that's what we use in the examples, but the skill might vary a great deal depending on the setting and what kind of technology is available. In a modern or sci-fi setting, this might be engineering or mechanics instead. I don't see a reason why this couldn't relate to computers as well. I think rather than creating a new skill, I rather just expand the flavor of that one.
Okay, cool.
I guess if y'all wanted to be able to have specification, then so that there's not like overlap between y'all's abilities and you can each have your own thing, then we could put like crafts in parentheses, computers, crafts in parentheses. So it would function the same way, but somebody who had crafts machinery could not do the same thing as somebody who has crafts computers. Would y'all like to do that better? Or would y'all...
Sure.
Is that RJ? Were you taking a crafts as one of your abilities? No. Okay.
No.
If nobody else is like taking a crafts or really worried about going that way, then I won't worry about it. We'll just call it crafts. I just wanted to do that in case like multiple people were thinking about aspects of that for their character. So yeah, you can just take crafts and that'll focus and you can flavor it for whatever you want to create, or we'll loop computers in there. All right. So the same way, like here, when so everybody understands how the skills work, is if your skill is at a +4, then when I ask for a roll, so for example, Savannah had her rapport as her +4 ability. If I am calling for a check or she's trying to convince somebody of something and using her rapport to overcome this challenge, she'd start at a +4 on the tier or on the fate ladder, and then would roll the dice. If she rolled a +1 on the dice, that would leave her with a total of a +5. If she rolled a -2 on the dice, it would lead her with a total of a +2. So higher you are in your skill, the more chance you have of succeeding on it, because it gives you a better bonus. Assume that makes sense to everyone. It's pretty simple.
Do we want to go through and tell everyone what we came up with as our highest? So maybe we see if we need to bump anything around.
Yeah, so
Okay,
we can
meta
reiterate.
like that.
We can reiterate. I think what RJ took physique as his highest. Danae took burglary. Savannah took rapport, and you took...
I took lore.
Lore as your highest.
I took for my good, I took crafts and shoot.
Crafts and shoot. Okay.
I've got fight and stealth.
Athletics and fight for me for good.
I have contacts in athletics.
So is RJ the only one that took either will or physique as a good or great? Okay. So everybody else should have 2 on their respective tracks.
I'm the tank.
As always. Gonna hit you with all those brain blasts, though.
Oh.
That's what I
took
call brain freeze.
I took will for I've got a +2 to will, so I've got a 3 on my mental track.
Okay, cool.
But then I didn't take anything in physique because glass cannon, baby.
I did take what's it called? I took will in fair as well. So
Okay. So yeah, if you let's see, physique has against more stress buffs resistant type. If rated average +1 or fair +2. Yeah, so you gain, sorry, I misunderstood. You gain 2 more stress boxes if it is a 3 or higher. you gain 1 more stress box if it's a 1 or a 2. So if anyone took physique as a 1 or a 2, you gain 1 more stress box in those abilities.
Okay.
So I was incorrect.
And the same for will.
Same
Okay.
for Will. So
For your
more in
mental box, yeah. I have
Okay.
1 mental.
Okay. So we got to couple you with 3 with your 3 mental stress box. RJ, you've got all of your physical stress boxes. All 4 of them.
I'm gonna switch it around to have fight at the +4, and then physique is
Okay.
at a +3 because of
Okay.
how this works.
Well, you'll still get the additional 2. Yeah, 2 more stress boxes if rated at a good or higher. Okay. But no one else took physique as a +1 or +2.
Nope.
Okay. All right. And yeah, what I would ask is just keep those checked. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great way for me to do this so that y'all could have them numbered, but also have them on your sheet, and without me just creating like 5 iterations of the sheet to have them available. So, Wings, are you saying something?
Yeah, I was. I would say if you do have will or physique, in your skills, like write in parentheses next to it, what your stress box looks like because of that, and then you can remember later down the line if you do wind up having to mark stress.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, marking somewhere on your sheet would help. All right, so I think the last thing that we have to talk about are stunts and refresh. I don't think we're gonna really get into the stunts before we have to go. So here's where y'all all get to start at. So the way the stunts and refresh work, by default, you have 3 in your refresh, and you get 3 stunts for free. You can take up to 2 more stunts by reducing your refresh. So what your refresh is, for anyone that doesn't know, is how many fate points you get at the start of the game. Fate points are what you can use, like a luck point or an inspiration point or something. It's something that you can use to kind of influence the mechanics a little bit in your favor. So you can spend a fate point to invoke an aspect in your favor. You can also spend a fate point to create a fictional element to help yourself. There was something else. Yeah, you can invoke an aspect. You can power a stunt if it requires a fate point to use. You can refuse a compel, where I tell you something negative is going to happen to you. It kind of is like Cypher system. I tell you like something, I'm going to compel you to do something. You can spend a fate point to resist it, or you can declare a story detail. You earn fate points during the game by accepting a compel. So if I tell you I'm going to compel one of your aspects to do this thing that's going to complicate your life, you can either spend a fate point to resist it, or you can accept a fate point by letting it happen. Again, same as Cypher system with the intrusions. You can also have your aspects invoked against you. You can decide to use one of your aspects in a negative way voluntarily to gain a fate point, or you can concede a conflict. Just decide you lose a conflict that's coming up, fight or something, or maybe a verbal conflict. If you choose to give up on it or choose to concede it, you gain a fate point for that as well. But your refresh allows you to start the game with a certain number. So having a high refresh helps, but you can also gain more points during the game. Just because your refresh is a 1 doesn't mean that you can't have more than 1 fate point at the start of a session. It just means you can only have 1 fate point at the start of the session. It doesn't mean you can't gain more than that during a session. So you could accept compels and stuff and end up with 3 fate points at some point, or more, if you accept some compels and invoke aspects and things like that. So that all being said, you start with 3 and 3. If you want to gain a 4th stunt, you have to reduce your refresh by 1. Same with if you want to take a 5th stunt, reduce your refresh by another 1. Your refresh can never go below 1.
I can't add any more stunts. I only
That's
get the
all you
1
get.
box.
I think I just put 1 box for stunts, and just because it's a note block, you should be able to put as much text in that as you want.
Gotcha.
Is there a list of like default stunts, or are we just making
There
this
are.
shit up?
Okay, so that's what I'll talk about with stunts. So if you go back to the skills page on 96, there is a list in the default skill list when you scroll through, starting on page 98 actually. After each skill, there's like athletics, you see like athletic stunts underneath. There are a list of like default stunts that tie to each skill. However, what I'm also going to offer here, reason why we're not probably going to, despite also because we don't have a lot of time, one of the reasons we're not going to get into this today, because I think stunts are going to be the best way for y'all to sort of create powers with your anima. So with your default 3, or if you take more, I want y'all to think about kind of your anima's abilities and powers, either as they existed in the last game or kind of how you want this new iteration to be, and consider if you would want to create a stunt to kind of make better use of your anima. What I would recommend for this is, because stunts have to be balanced with this, within a degree, is look at the stunts that are kind of like are similar to what you're kind of going for. See if there's anything that works for you, and we'll tweak it and stuff if we need to. For example, if Vega or Piper wants to be able to use Vega's powers with rapport or something, and has an idea for like invoking or creating a stunt where Vega can, I don't know, attack somebody using her rapport skill or something like that, or can like mentally control someone, or create a barrier, or whatever the I know Vega had an ability to do that in the last game, or we had different abilities that we showed off. If you want to do it, think about like what ability you want, what skill that would tie to, and then look at that stunt and other stunts that are kind of similar to what you're looking for, and we'll try to balance it out. There's a list on page, or there's kind of an example on creating your own stunts. I saw it in the book. Starting on page 88, it talks about building stunts and kind of what they can do, what are the basics of how stunts work, and the kind of the kind of mechanics that they have. You can look at those, and kind of I would recommend reading through those couple of pages if you want to create a stunt that ties into your anima abilities. And we can workshop those over the next 2 weeks. So I try not to do too many of them off the bat, especially those of us that haven't played the game too much before, because I don't want it to get too much bogged down in like trying to create too much and biting off more than we can chew. But it's definitely how I'd recommend like bringing in your anima skills and abilities. Does anyone have any questions on that? Does anyone have any like stunts that they're like, I know I'm gonna take this, or something along those lines?
I picked mine.
Okay, you're just picking the stunts from the book.
Uh-huh.
What are you looking at?
I have Lies Upon Lies, which is a deceive stunt. It is +2 to create a deceive advantage against someone who has believed one of your lies already during the session.
Okay.
I picked Rumor Monger, which I thought was really fun, which is +2 to creating an advantage when you plant vicious rumors about someone else.
Okay.
And then I took a provoke stunt too, which is you can use, it's called Armor of Fear, but you can use provoke to defend against fight attacks, but only the first time you're dealt stress in a conflict. You can make your opponents hesitate to attack, but when someone shows them you're only human, your advantage disappears.
Okay. Yeah, and so like those are good examples of ones that, like, I mean, as with any of the stunts as they're listed in the book, we will flavor them with anima, but like y'all will have the opportunity to flavor how you're doing things however you want. So the use of anima in this game will mostly probably come down to flavor. Using a skill and having that flavor influence of using your anima influence like how we describe it. So creating the stunts really should be reserved for like if there is something that you really want, but there's just not something in the book that really speaks to you or really hits the nail on the head on what you're looking for. Did anybody else have any that they were looking at?
I've got 2 so far.
Okay.
From me, I have Tough as Nails, which is a physical stunt. Once per session, at the cost of a fate point, you can reduce the severity of a moderate consequence that's physical in nature to a mild consequence, if your mild consequence is free, or erase a mild consequence altogether. And then the second one is Heavy Hitter, which is a fight skill. When you succeed with style in a fight attack and choose to reduce the result by 1 to gain a boost, you gain a full situation aspect with a free invocation instead.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at a Kill Stroke, which is also a fight one, which is once per scene, when you force an opponent to take a consequence, you can spend a fate point to increase the consequence severity, so mild becomes moderate and moderate becomes severe. If your opponent was already going to take a severe consequence, he must either take a severe consequence and a second consequence or be taken out.
Nice.
One-shot potential.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone else have anything they wanted to share?
Yeah.
Like I said, you guys can take your time. You don't have to have them all today.
I've read about that because someone has to take it in every single Fate session. Yeah.
Is that a lore one?
Yeah, it's a lore one.
Is that just one that you get to...
You can, I think it's once per session, you can, use lore instead of literally any other skill and just explain how to justify that from something you've read.
You spend a fate point to use lore in place of any other skill for one roll in exchange, provided you have a justification having read about an action you're attempting. Yeah. Okay. I like it.
Take Always a Way Out. +2 on burglary rolls made to create an advantage whenever you're trying to escape from a location.
Nice. Awesome. That's and while y'all are still picking your stuff or reading, that's basically it for character creation. You have your stunts and refresh and your stress and consequences.
I do have one more that I'm seeing in Will, which may actually line up really well with some of Omega's stuff. Hard-boiled. You can choose to ignore a mild or moderate consequence for the duration of the scene. It can't be compelled against you or invoked. But at the end of the scene, it comes back worse. If it was mild, it becomes moderate. If it was moderate, it becomes severe. Which kind of is the whole monkey's paw thing of the time. And we could flavor it as sort of a wibbly wobbly in time.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's another thing that I was going to suggest too. If you take a stunt and you want to reflavor it to fit your anima abilities, to give it a different name or something like that, I'm totally fine with that. So if you take the stunt, you're like, I want to reflavor this or rename it so that it it matches this, and you can do that if you want to change. If you like the stunt, but you want to change the mechanics or tweak the mechanics slightly, just message me about it, and we can talk about it and make it work too. Like I said, I really want y'all to be able to call out these stunts and use these stunts as you used your powers with your anima in our first season. So, because like I said, I mean, I want, this is still the same game, same group, same characters with the same abilities, but I want there to be, I want y'all to feel powerful and feel like you're using your anima. So, all right. So like I was saying, there is that's basically it for character creation. We've got 3 minutes, so we're gonna wrap up here. The one thing I wanted to mention is the way we're going to kind of play the game as we go with like milestones and like creation. So there's not going to be any XP, but the way that the milestones work is there are minor, significant, and major milestones, and those start on page 256 of the book. You will get a minor milestone at the end of every session. Significant milestone you will gain at the end of like a scenario or some sort of plot event, and then the major milestones will happen when something like big happens. You've completed an arc or something along those lines. The minor milestones, the one that are going to come up every session, I'm going to put these in the I'm going to probably screenshot this and I'll put this in the roll game so you'll be able to reference it at the end of every session. I just wanted to let you know what you're going to be able to do. You can switch the rank value of 2 skills, or replace one average skill with one that isn't on your sheet, so you can swap things around. You can change any single stunt for another stunt, so you can change out stunts at the end of any session. You can purchase a new stunt as long as you have the refresh to do so. So if your refresh is a 3, it seems like everyone was taking 3 stunts and keeping your 3 refresh. If you decide you want to, okay, so Feng is taking a 4th one and dropping refresh. Okay, as long as you have more than 1 refresh, you can spend one of those points and gain another stunt. And you can rename one character aspect that isn't your high concept. So anything except your high concept, you can rename or redo at the end of each session. So make sure your high concept is what you want it to be at the end of this, before we have our session 2 or our session 1, because that's the only one that's locked in. The significant milestones that will also come up is you get a skill point. So these ones will probably come up every couple of sessions or so. You'll gain skill points, which you can use to buy new skills or increase an existing skill by 1 rank. You still have to follow the rules of the ladder, where you have to have more on the tier below than you have on the one above. So you can't move one of your good abilities to great and have as your first one and have 2 in great and 1 in good. Otherwise, the whole thing just comes crashing down. Or if you have any severe consequences, you can rename them to begin the recovery process if you haven't already. We'll talk about consequences and stuff as we get into the gameplay. And then major milestones, the stuff that'll come up rarely, but we'll try to get in there. I'm still going to find the right pacing for it. It's where you get to get rid of like extreme consequences. You get to take an additional point of refresh, which allows you to either immediately bind a new stunt or keep it for more fate points. To advance a skill beyond the current skill cap of the campaign, which is currently at a 5. If once we get to that point, if you want to boost something up to a 6, it changes the skill cap for the game to a 6, so we can have that progression. And you can rename your character's high concept if you desire. That's those are the big moments. The end of like a story arc is when you'll be able to finally change that if you want to. Does anyone have any questions before we get going? All right. Everyone ready to play some Fate?
Yeah. Heck yeah. I had a thought. as far as backstories go, I know I keep on coming back and like rearranging things. We can tie things together even more. When Penny was chasing Vivi, causing Feng's awakening of his powers, it was directly from the poker game. And then we can even have our building explosion if we still want it. Because then she didn't knock an artifact out of his hand. The artifact that she was stealing from Penny is what released the Phantom. And then the building exploded.
I guess it's up to RJ because his thing was delivering the artifact, so it's whether he wants to change his thing. But either way, there's lots of ways we can do it. If y'all want to talk amongst yourselves and kind of tweak any of your stuff, let me know. I mean, this is really in y'all's wheelhouse. Just send me whatever the final product is for your stories before our next session, so I can have them for my own note-taking purposes. The one thing I wanted to confirm before we get going, are we going with nobody remembers the prior timelines like in full right now as we're starting out? This is complete memory wipe of what happened before, and then maybe time stuff happening with this like impending threat. Maybe some of the stuff will come back and y'all will start remembering what happened.
Yeah, that's the plan for now.
Okay, I'm cool with that. All right, well, we will come back then in 2 weeks for our Las Vegas paranormal investigation anime adventure, which I'm very excited about. Anyone have anything they want to add or plug or whatever before we get going? No? All right. Well, thank you to my lovely players for really helping to collaborate in this session and coming here with a lot of great ideas. I think this campaign, this new season is going to be even better than the first one. So everyone out there watching, we will be back in 2 weeks for our session 1, where you'll get to see all this stuff come into play. Join us in the meantime for our game tomorrow night, Sunday at 4 o'clock. We're going to be playing Thursday's Children, which is our Vason game that Savannah runs. And obviously join us next Saturday for the session 0 for Saturday night's Mistborn. We're going to be talking about our new Mistborn game, and we've done a little bit of character creation for that already, so we're going to be kind of more so just fleshing some things out and talking about our characters and what we picked and all that. So thank you everyone for watching. We will see you then in 2 weeks, and until next time, good game and good night, Internet.